Kia ora, good evening. Welcome to Central News for Tuesday, the 13th of May. I'm Hilary Entwistle. Partial removal of Mount Maunganui $1.5 million artificial reef is taking a step forward, with Bay of Plenty Regional Council seeking tenders on options for the work. Council last month announced the artificial reef 250 metres offshore from the Tay Street Marine Parade corner will be partially removed, as it has never functioned as it was intended. It was advised work would begin as soon as possible after the April 16th announcement, but Council confirms the tender process is only now to be publicly advertised. Bay of Plenty Regional Council's Consents Manager, Helen Cray, says the reasoning behind this move is the level of public interest the removal is gathering.
So the Council's been talking to the Reef Trust about whether they're in a position to continue with the reef, so to reapply for the resource consent for it that has expired, or to finish the reef as it was originally intended to be constructed. They're not in a position to do that, so the Regional Council contract got a independent investigation into the condition of the reef, and to get an opinion on what the future options for the reef would be. They were status quo, so could we leave the reef where it is, as it is? Did the reef need to be removed partially or in whole, or was the could an option be to complete the reef? So that report looked at those options and made a recommendation that partial removal of the reef was appropriate in the circumstances.
Mount Maunganui lifeguard Sam Shergold's 18 kilometres of lactic lashing paddle around a Nicaraguan lake is leaving him with a decidedly sweet taste in his mouth, claiming silver. Competing in the 18-kilometre long-distance prone race at the ISA World Stand-Up Paddleboard and Paddleboard Championships, the 20-year-old took it to his much-vaunted rivals, leading for large chunks of the race and a part of 2 breakaway groups. The 20-year-old is part of a strong New Zealand team featuring 3 other surf lifesavers. The Ministry of Education, which is planning to withdraw 10 rural school bus routes, says it will continue to fund the service until the end of 2015 to allow Waikato Regional Council to plan for an increased demand on public transport. The commitment was made during a meeting in Hamilton organised by the Regional Council and attended by New Zealand Transport Agency, district and city councillors and principals. The meeting was called to hear details of the Ministry's intent to withdraw school bus routes so it could be taken into account in the Regional Council's review of its public transport plan. The 10 routes bring students into Hamilton from Hauraki, Matamata Piako, Waikato and Waipa districts to attend 3 special charter schools: Sacred Hearts Girls College, St John's College and Waikato Diocesan Schools for Girls. Waikato Regional Council's public bus services would not currently be able to accommodate all the students during the morning and afternoon peak. Among the dozens of annual plan submissions protesting Tauranga City Council's decision to scrap the mobile library service, there's one standout alternative. While most submissions from customers express regret, dismay and even scorn at the Council's decision to axe the $85,000 service and instead spend $40,000 delivering books to the elderly, a Mount Maunganui bookseller has another plan. Old Grumpy's Gallery is offering an alternative mobile service based on their business model. It's an extension of an initiative the gallery undertook some time ago, offering a book lending service to patrons who, for various reasons and circumstances, are not able to visit the local library or mobile library. Councillor Clayton Mitchell thinks Bob's idea is fantastic, and his solution to the mobile library service is thinking outside the square. Looking to the seas now, West Coast, Raglan, early Wednesday, southwest 15 knots. High tide is 9:30 in the morning. East Coast Bay of Plenty, there's a southwest 20 knots and it's developing quite early there. There's a few showers. It is a high tide at 7 p.m. in Tauranga. Just ahead, keeping an eye on psychoactive substances. Welcome back to Central News. A psychoactive watchdog group in Tauranga is aiming to monitor the clinical, criminal and community impacts of the legislative changes. Some say the government has taken a hands-off approach up until now. I found out from Michael Mills of the Watchdog Group if many people agreed with this in Tauranga.
Well, it wasn't a hands-off approach, it was a head-in-the-sand approach. I mean, how 119 out of 120 MPs could vote for it just defies belief. So yes, it was very much a hands-off, head-in-the-sand, badly informed decision. Yes, that's exactly right.
There is concern that banning the legal highs could lead to a black market trade. Do you think that could happen here in Tauranga?
I think the main people promoting that outcome are the industry themselves, who have made squillions in the period that they've had this window of opportunity to peddle this stuff. The reality is it's not easy to make. It's ghastly in its impact on people. People who use it, are addicted to it, hate it, and that our hope is that over time, actually, rather than a black market, we hope that there'll end up being no market. I mean, if people are determined to use it, they'll find ways to get it, no question. But we think by removing it from the shelves and sending the clear message that it's not safe, that we think people will get off it.
You say users don't actually like using it. What do you mean?
Well, it's a poison at the end of the day, and it has a very short half-life. So, you know, you get a hit and it drops off quite quickly. So you need more and more and more. And so it's quite an aggressive, addictive substance. And I think people don't, you know, they can feel quite anxious if they don't have it. And that anxiety can lead to offending. It can lead to, as I say, full-blown psychotic episodes. So, you know, people know that it messes with them. And we're hopeful, as I say, that they'll use this opportunity to get off it.
What is the main aim of the Watchdog Group?
Well, the Watchdog Group, first and foremost, is to sort of look at what the clinical, the criminal and community impacts are around the changes in the law now, and particularly over the next period when it comes off the shelves. But most importantly, to promote to the community that there is help available, and that if you want to get clean, you can get help, and that you know, there's material prepared now. The District Health Board's prepared some material which is very helpful on how to get clean, how to stay clean, and we'd like to promote that.
How big is this issue?
Well, we only know anecdotally from talking to the retailers, but the indications are between 4,000 and 5,000 sales a week at $20 a pop. You do the maths.
And that's just in the Western Bay?
That's just in Tauranga.
There have been warnings lately about superbugs, which are resistant to antibiotics and more prevalent in New Zealand society than first realised. Anne-Marie spoke with Dr. Greg Dunn from Matamata Medical Centre to find out more about superbugs and how we can keep ourselves safe.
Dr. Dunn from the Matamata Medical Centre, welcome to Central News.
Thanks, Anne-Marie.
The World Health Organisation has recently warned that resistance to antibiotics is rising around the world and that we need to be on the lookout for superbugs. What does this mean for New Zealand? Should we be running for the hills?
Well, superbugs, it's a rather dramatic terminology. So all it means is common bacteria, which are abounding everywhere, and we're all exposed to them every day of our life. Some of those bacteria have become resistant to commonly used antibiotics. So what's happening in the world also is happening here in New Zealand and even in our community of Matamata. So it's really a matter of being aware of resistance of bacteria, and so standard treatments may not be available. So it has big implications for health and treatment in hospitals and in communities really, and also wider use of antibiotics through other areas as in agriculture, where antibiotics are used fairly routinely for treating animals where no infections there, and also on sort of agricultural foods. So it's really, it has big implications in terms of resistance of bugs to treatments, and some antibiotics may not work in the future.
With global travel, it's pretty difficult to stop these bugs coming into New Zealand, isn't it?
Yes, well, that's right, and but probably the more travel there is, the greater bugs are likely to be things like viruses. There are some infections which do cross borders, and there's one at the moment like polio has become in the news of late, and the World Health Organisation has just mentioned about polio increasing in some parts of the country in the world. So that is something obviously the World Health Organisation is aware of. In terms of the more common infections, there are things like infections which cause skin infections that we see in the community, and those sort of things probably aren't affected so much by international travel.
So how do we keep ourselves safe? What can we do to prevent ourselves? Hand washing springs to mind for me.
Yeah, well, it's probably a very underutilised safe endeavour, if you like, and probably a lot of people don't hand wash enough. It should be fairly routine, after toileting, before using food. In my role is hand washing between seeing people, and if we have a cold, hand washing. And often people don't hand wash very effectively, and there's a little. If you wet your hands and use soap's more effective than sanitisers, and it just sort of removes the actual germs off your hands. And if you hum happy birthday twice, that's usually enough time to have soap working effectively on your hands, and drying them after you wash your hands is important.
That's a good trick. Sing hum happy birthday twice while you're soaping your hands, and then wash it off. Does it matter if it's cold or hot water?
No, it doesn't matter. No, that's right.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Dunn. We look forward to a healthy winter.
Thanks very much, Tara.
Coming up next, we break down the crime statistics for the Bay of Plenty. Welcome back. The burglary rate in the Bay of Plenty is actually something to be proud of. I caught up with Inspector Clifford Paxton to find out why.
Obviously with burglary, it has quite a significant impact on our communities, and it's one of those areas that causes quite a great community alarm. So it's been an area of focus for quite some time for us. It does again require us to work with a number of different partner agencies to make sure that we get the outcomes that we want. So we do second-hand dealer checks and the like. We make sure that we have high visibility in the areas of concern. We make sure that we alert the neighbours and the like to any issues or concerns that may be hearing. And obviously we try and get the message out to our communities that if they see something suspicious or something that they're not comfortable with, that they make sure they give us a call and let us know. And we've found that our communities have been very, very supportive. Our members have been proactive around getting the checks done and obviously responding to any issues or concerns with urgency, and that for us at the moment seems to be playing some dividends for us, which is pleasing.
Do we have a particular problem with burglary here?
Look, any burglary is a problem. They are very invasive in terms of people's lives. They are something that causes a great deal of concern and trauma in our communities. So for me, any burglary is a burglary too many. So what we can do to try and assist our communities or prevent those from occurring has to be a good thing.
Now, these statistics are for recorded crime. Do you think they are a reasonable reflection of the actual crime rate?
Look, you get a little bit of a feel for how things are going, and at different times for different crime rates, you may start to ask some questions, but I'm reasonably comfortable with where we are at the moment in terms of what I'm seeing within our communities, what I'm hearing and what we're seeing in terms of the results. So I'm reasonably comfortable that it's a good reflection of where we're at currently.
Sexual assault has decreased. Is this due to any new strategies?
Well, we rely heavily on our partners again to report matters of sexual assault. We rely heavily on families coming forward and supporting those that have been offended against. And through that, then we're able to obviously try and identify and address any concerns or issues that we may have. For us, there's been a lot of work, again, working with our partner agencies and trying to increase that awareness around sexual assaults and other issues of violence to make sure that if people are offended against, that they have the confidence to come forward and report that which is occurring.
Is methamphetamine a big problem in the Bay of Plenty?
Well, again, a bit like burglary, it is a problem when it starts to impact on our communities, and I think it's reasonably well reported some of the negative aspects of some of these illicit drugs and organised crime. So for us, yes, it is a concern, and yes, it is a focus of ours, and what we can do to try and prevent the impact that has on our communities and our families within our communities has to be a good thing from my perspective.
So what are the Bay of Plenty Police trying to do towards organised crime?
Look, we've got a number of operations ongoing at the moment, and that's around focusing on our organised crime groups, on our illicit drugs, and those sorts of issues that, as I say, do impact on our communities and our community members.
After having a great success in the Innovation Den and Innovation Centre at the Field Days last year, Patrick Roscombe is returning to Field Days 2014 with a new and improved Gudgeon Pro 5-in-1 gate hanger. Anne-Marie caught up with him to find out what changes he made and what his next big challenge is.
Welcome to Central News. Patrick Roscombe, you are one of the New Zealand's youngest inventors, I'd guess. Now, let's start, first of all, last field days, you took what was the Gudgeon Pro 4-in-1 along to the field days. You had great success, you got a lot of feedback, and now you've returned with a bigger, better, brighter model.
Yes.
Tell me about what you've done with it.
So since the field days, I had great amount of feedback that it had to be adjustable, and so I worked on that for adjustable system, and I also entered the innovation den at field days, and out of 12 contestants, I got the best pitch, and I also received a prize from one of the judges, which was to go to Vodafone for a day and work on marketing. And I also entered the New Zealand Innovators Awards, which is out of all New Zealand, and I got the the highly commended for the most inspiring individual, and I also won the People's Choice Person category.
You know, I'm inspired, so I'm not surprised you won that, because I'm sitting opposite you. You're 13 years of age, and you've designed a tool which I could have done with when I was helping Dad hang gates and make fences on the farm in Morrinsville all those years ago. Tell me about your tool. Talk me through this amazing piece of machinery in front of me.
So it's batten height 1.14, so when you're post-ramming all your posts at the same height.
Right, yes, so you've got a level fence.
Yep.
That's important.
And then it's also got a 4-wire fence and a 7-wire fence markings.
Yep.
The groove.
Little grooves.
Yeah, the groove is to get an accurate marking all the time. It's also got 3 levels here, here and here. It's also adjustable to fit different.
Now, the adjustability, that was a big amount of feedback from the field days,
Yes, it
wasn't
was.
it?
Yeah, because farmers were using old gates, new gates, and they're all varied in their length, And so we wanted to make it adjustable for all different gates.
And you made it adjustable. You didn't go and get help from another business. You did this yourself.
Yes, I did.
That's fantastic. What's been the biggest challenge the last year?
The challenge is like all the legal stuff and like patents and all of that, trying to get work around that, and like all the marketing, you got to try and get that, and then people closing the doors to say it's not right, it's not going to work, but then you have to keep persevering and try and get it.
Persistence moves resistance.
Yeah.
Have you learnt that?
Yes.
in bucket loads. What's been the best experience the last year so far?
Well, meeting all new people, and like they all have connections to other people that you might need in the future. Yeah.
Now, you're selling this at the field days?
Yes, I'm selling it in the field days in the Innovation Centre, and which is on the M Road. You just look for the black and orange stand.
And each one you're going to sell at the field days has got a certificate of authenticity.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
So the first 500 I assembled myself in the holidays, and so they will all come with a certificate of authenticity numbered and signed by me.
Patrick, I think you're fantastic. I really do. And I think this is fantastic, and I think my husband's going to get one for Father's Day coming up. Well done. Congratulations, and we'll see you at the field days.
Thank you.
For more details, visit facebook.com/Gudgeon Pro. Coming up after the break, we meet another talented local musician. Welcome to Central News. Tonight we continue with New Zealand Music Month and meet a very busy local musician, Anna Hawkins.
I sing classical music, but I like to couple it with some contemporary. So basically it's a fusion of classical and popular music, and I also have Irish heritage, so I like to bring in a little bit of the Celtic flavour to some of my songs.
Can you give me a little bit of insight into your career thus far?
It depends how far back you want to go. I started singing when I was about 7, and I had sort of classical singing lessons when I was sort of 10, 11. I was probably performing with orchestras from around the age of 15, and probably especially in the last few years I've really given it everything that I have and just fully committed to making singing a full-time career for myself, and I've been blessed to sing at a whole variety of events, and yeah.
What would you say has been one of the highlights?
My highlight? Well, I mean, what's been happening lately has been pretty exciting. Last year I recorded and released my my sort of debut album, as it were, called Journey On, and I got to record it in Poland and London, and that was certainly a dream come true. And I've been doing some performances recently. I played Christine in Ken Hill's Phantom of the Opera in Japan, and I've just come back from touring New Zealand with Paul Potts, and I would say maybe it's because they're the most recent, but they are highlights and have been a thrill for me.
What was Japan like to perform in?
It was amazing, really fascinating. It was a pretty full-on time because we were performing 2 shows a day. So we sort of flew in, we had a tech rehearsal, then a dress rehearsal, and then we were right into performances. The audience is different. They're a little bit more reserved, but when you meet them backstage, like we did some signings afterwards, they were just like shaking their hands, meeting you, and very, very appreciative and very honouring. And so it was quite an experience performing in Tokyo.
You self-recorded your debut album, Journey On. What was that process like of self-recording?
It was amazing. I'm a person that I think I like to be involved in everything, so I really enjoyed being able to be fully immersed from the start to the finish, and working alongside Paweł Zarecki, who is a top producer in Poland, and then with Ross Cullum, who's worked with Enya, just to kind of be around those guys. And I learnt so much, and I was working with just the most amazing musicians and really getting to see the songs that I'd written and obviously the other songs develop over the process of time was really enjoyable and rewarding.
To find out more about Anna's music, visit her website, annahawkins.co.nz. Looking at our region's weather now. Wednesday for you, Hamilton, will have a few showers with fine spells, and the winds tend towards the southwest. Your expected high is 16 and an overnight low of 5. It's the same for the rest of the Waikato. Paeroa, your expected temperatures are 17 and 5. Matamata, 15 and 5. Te Awamutu, 16 and 5. Tokoroa, 13 and 4. Tauranga, a few showers with fine spells and a southwest wind. Your expected high is 17 and an overnight low of 8. The same for the rest of the Bay of Plenty, with an expected high of 15 and an overnight low of 8 for Te Puke. That is Central News for today. Email us at news@tvcentral.co.nz or like us on Facebook and let us know of any stories that are happening in your community. Join me again tomorrow night as I catch up with the lovely ladies of Creative Tauranga. I find out some tips for the beginning of the hunting season and the removal of the Tay Street Reef. I'm Hilary Entwistle. I hope you have a lovely evening.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.